Good morning, Service Alliance community. Hope you're all having a great day. Welcome, Shayna.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning,
Been a minute.
everyone. It has been a few minutes. I've slept a few nights since we've been on here. I mean, I was on here last week with Zach, but to be on with you, like it has been a while. Jason,
You
Jason
always
likes to
wonder,
hug you.
how do you know you've made it? This is how you know you've made it. You get to get
Oh,
on with the wonderful Barbie lover, Shayna.
oh, I thought you was gonna say with you. Okay.
Now I know I've made it. Well, I am feeling very unfestive now that I see your background.
Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. So I'll explain. We are doing a desk decorating contest. And so most of the desks have a theme like gingerbread and Whoville and Grinch and the Griswold. And last Thursday, it was supposed to be done by yesterday. Last Thursday, I was walking through the house and I was telling my floor manager, I'm like, all I have down is wrapping paper. Like, what am I supposed to do? And then it dawned on me that I actually never put up my holiday Barbie dolls last year. They're still out on the shelves. So I brought them in and they are literally stacked from floor to ceiling. Every single holiday Barbie doll is in here. But so that you're not fooled, like I did actually do a Christmas tree in my house. So I do have something, but I did it Sunday. So
I
that's the
haven't
only
even
thing
put mine up yet.
that's the only thing that's gonna get done. Just
Yeah.
so.
How many holiday Barbies do you have behind you?
So it actually started in 1988. So she's original, sorry. So I have every single one. Now they've changed names, they've changed things up a few. So for instance, over 1999 and 2000, they didn't do the holiday Barbie doll anymore. They did some like millennial and celebration. So there was three in that 2 year time frame instead of just one, one each year. And then the only other one is in 2016, each of their dolls, typically they have a white doll and a black doll, and typically they wear the same dress. They put a different dress on each of them, so I couldn't just get one.
There you go.
So
And I'm sure all of our target audience and listeners are just so excited to hear all this
they
Barbie
should be. They should be.
information.
They should be.
You never know.
If
There could
you
there
need
could
to
be
really
some
truly,
some people out there that really are into it, like you.
yeah. And if you get a relative that dies and you're trying to figure out Barbies, just contact me.
There you go. Now you know.
Now you know. That's why I'm always saying that, I'm a Barbie girl, so, like, because I really am.
Yes. You remind me of my aunt. I had this aunt. She's long past now, but her entire house when you walked in was nothing but all of these elaborate, expensive dolls of all kinds. Like, I mean, any kind of doll. She collected dolls, and every room in her house was nothing but dolls. It was like she was a doll hoarder because so many people just gifted her dolls every year for her birthday and, Christmas. And I remember going in there as a kid, thinking, oh, this is kind of neat. But after a while, it just got kind of creepy.
So what you're saying is I'm just like your crazy aunt, and actually that right there, like, these when Jason and I were younger, I think, Isaiah hadn't been born yet, Austin was born, so about 22 years ago, we had a house. I had a shelf in the room where he had his desk, and my Barbie dolls just stayed lined up there all year long. And he came in one time and he's like, I really feel like I'm just being watched all day.
That's how I felt whenever I'd go over there and stay the night and stuff. But I mean, she didn't just have Barbies. I could sleep in a room full of Barbies because at least they're pretty. There
And
were
in a
some
box,
creepy, weird dolls that she had.
there is. There's some. Okay. Anyways.
But all right, today we're talking about cash flow habits that make or break a service business. So if you're not watching your cash flow, this is definitely the episode to watch. So All right, let's, as always, we open with prayer, we do a Bible verse, and then we get right into the content. So, do you want to open us on prayer?
Sure.
All right.
Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come onto the show today, Father. I pray that you just help Mike and I be able to put out into the world what you want us to say, Father, that you lead us and you guide us, that you let us be a light. And then, as any of the listeners, Father, that they also share that light amongst the people with that they come in contact with, Father. Lead them and guide them, direct them in not only in their personal lives, but also in their business life. Let them be able to understand how to be the business owner that you have called them to be. I give you the praise and the glory in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. I love listening to you pray.
I like
You
I
always have
oh
great prayers.
well, I always lean towards the thankfulness. I'm like, I don't know, I've always done that, so
Yeah, you have to. All right, today's verse is Ecclesiastes 7:12, and it says, "Wisdom is a shelter as money is a shelter, but the advantage of knowledge is this: wisdom preserves those who have it."
Mm,
And I love that verse, especially the second part: wisdom preserves those who have it. It really gives you a sense of reflection on the realities of life from someone who's experienced both prosperity and hardships, right? And that's what we're tying into this whole episode. Um, your cash flow is not just about earning money, it's about applying wisdom to manage and direct that money in a really good way, the way you should be. Financial resources can protect your business, but the wisdom of how you do it is what preserves it. So
mhm.
I really like that verse, and how it ties in with all this.
I
So
think a good example, like, before we get started on that, is you look at and you hear stories about people who win lottery, and although they got the money, they didn't have the wisdom to hold on to it, and so many of those lottery winners, even if they win multi-million dollars, within no time are broke again and living the same exact life they lived before, so, don't just ask for money, ask for the wisdom because with
yeah.
wisdom comes longevity. So,
What's the verse? I forgot the verse, but the one that talks about if you can't be trusted with little, you can't be trusted with, God won't trust you with much.
yeah,
So, you know, you just have more of what you're not managing to begin with. So if you don't learn how to manage your money and don't learn how to manage your business, why would you be able to manage more of that as a whole?
yeah.
So that's why we do these. That's why we come to you every single week, multiple times a week, to actually walk you through this. So, why does cash flow habits matter? How are how much, Shayna, as a business owner, cash flow really matters, but how much have you grown over the years? You've owned your business many, many years, and I'm sure you've made a lot of mistakes, just like I have, and
What?
had to learn a lot on how to manage your cash flow, right? But how did you get into finding a groove and building actual habits that kind of help set you up?
Well, I mean, part of it is actually truly knowing, um, your numbers and having consistency with it. And you gotta be like, even when you get in that groove, like things can happen. We had something that happened last year that really truly set us back and took us backwards. And were we fully prepared for what happened? Absolutely not. And so it's once again, it's another lesson learned. Just constantly learning these stinking lessons. When do the lessons stop? Um, But, it's really truly about knowing the numbers. I know with, I don't know what you guys discussed last week, but, Zach and I talked about KPIs and really truly knowing those, and that's a huge thing about knowing the cash flow. Looking in your bank account, seeing that there's cash in there doesn't mean that you understand your numbers and that your numbers are good. So,
Yeah, you can't run your business by looking at your bank account and thinking that that's the way. Oh, I got money in there. I must be doing good.
yeah,
That's you should be looking at your bank account saying, "Oh, I've got money in there. What I've been doing is working." And that's how you got to look at it. So I
or the
even used to be
opposite.
I used to be one of those people. Yeah, I used to be one of those people that ran my business by looking at the bank account. Now I look at that bank account as a way to validate, okay, I'm on track. It is growing at the rates that it should be growing. So financial habits, I can tell you, oh my God, stress. Talk about stress when you're not following any financial habits, getting into the habit of doing things, definitely going to reduce that emotional decision making and stress. Being consistent and being consistent in managing your money is going to create long-term stability. Um,
Yep.
I've lived this, and I've been on both sides of it. I've been in business 21 years with this business, and I've had other businesses that I didn't operate the way I should have, and it took me a long time to figure it out and learn it. But now I can be more predictable. I can lead my team and I can lead my business and have operational stability to do what I need to do for my clients. Um, and now I'm able to actually give to charities. I'm able to give some, that money away and
Hmm.
set all that aside and be okay.
Yeah.
And like you said, when the crap hits the fan and you got a lesson to learn, you know, um, that you weren't expecting. I like the way you put that. The lesson. It's like, okay, we call it a lesson when it's our fault and we had to learn from it. You know, we could have covered our butts a little bit better at some point, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have cash set aside to sustain you through an issue like that, then oh my gosh, you're going to be really stressed out. And that is not a good thing.
Nope.
So today we got 5 cash flow habits that make or break your service business that we're going to go through. So I'll start with the first one, paying yourself a real owner's salary, not just what's left over. Um, I follow the profit first principle. If you haven't read Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, go read that book. Go listen to it on Audible. It's a really, really good book, and it will help you kind of get on that right path and basically show you how you can break that money up into different reserves and have that money set aside for the rainy day or when you have the crap hit the fan or you just need that money set aside so you could give to charities or help other people when needed, help your employees, whatever it may be. So
I wanna jump in on that one though.
go ahead.
Having done QuickBooks for multiple people, not everybody can do it successfully. So, um, don't if you don't know how to manage your money, don't go full blown. This is 100% we're doing it by the book and how he spells it out there. You can baby step your way into it
Oh yeah.
and learn how to do, for instance, I just started out like all we had was a savings account that was at a totally different bank that nobody touched, that we didn't empty out. And that's how we started with the Profit First, was just doing that. So maybe you step yourself into it, because I have seen so many companies fail at it. Just they're basically paying, robbing Paul to pay Peter type of thing, and money's just constantly coming in and out. It's not really actually working. The amount of bank fees that have added up for the owners that cannot actually truly maintain it has, um, an astronomical amount for some business owners. So definitely
Yeah.
baby step into it. So
Well, I mean, that's one of his core principles in that book, is make that money extremely hard to get to.
yeah,
So you can't be tempted to pull it out. Um, Once it's gone, it's gone. Look at it as an expense that's gone, and have the security in knowing it's there if and when you need it.
yep,
So it's definitely a long play type of system, but I have found it to be very, very fruitful. I mean, it's it's been game changer for so many people. Me, my businesses, and my friends that are also running, their own variants of it. And that's the nice thing. You can tweak and not follow it 100% and still be really, really good and
yes,
well off,
yep,
so um so one of the things, point two, we've got here is protecting profit first. So let's talk about that. If you're not familiar with the profit first principle, the whole principle is pay yourself a salary first, right? So if your if your salary is really up and down all the time, this is one of the things that this book is foundational about. You need to pay yourself a consistent salary. Everything else is a bonus. TK, he and his business partner just get a flat salary. They make X dollars a year, and they don't make any more than that. And they may get some profit at the end of the year, they may not. It all depends on what they're doing and what they're using their money for as far as growth in their business throughout the year, right? Not every year is going to be a profitable year, but they have that consistent salary. And it it gives your business a very simple way. You know exactly what your expenses are going to be per year. It's easy to budget, it's easy to project, and it's going to stabilize everything for you, rather than just grabbing money out of the bank account every single time that you need it, using the business account to go and buy groceries, things like that. Tons and tons of people do stuff like that, and they buy Christmas gifts, whatever it may be. There are certain things that you can purchase through the business, and that's the benefit of owning a business, that you can slide through as a business expense. Others, you get audited, you're going to get called out. you know so there's a balance there, right? I mean,
right,
I'm sure you guys have ended up in doing the same thing over the years.
yep,
I mean, it's common standard practice of what people do. So I mean, you can now write off all your Barbies that you buy.
Did, did you hear that, Jason? Did you hear
It
that?
is
So
it is
this
an official business background, for your studio now.
right.
So, um, you got to be careful about those loopholes and how you use it. So, um, but without that intentional protection, profit is just going to disappear,
Yeah, 100%.
and you wonder where it went. And that profit gives the business margin rather than operating on the edge. So, our next one, setting a predictable marketing investment. How do you guys manage that on your end? Do you actually set aside, do you have a marketing budget that you actually budget for every year?
Well, so our marketing budget is different than everybody else's, right? So we did actually we've started in 2018. Um, we've paid out very little as far as um, making sure that we're ranked high, although we had a wonderful, amazing website built. For thanks to yours truly, Mike Garson. But Facebook is a huge one. We've paid out very little of that. We actually did do some. Um, we paid a guy to help us be able to target our and push our Black Friday special that we just did. Our marketing primarily is trade shows. And so we are actually redoing that. So typically 3 or 4 trade shows a year, and trade shows are not cheap. If you think that they are not cheap at all. But we've sort of refocused this coming year to BNI. Uh, for because like for instance, our Black Friday special that we did was 75% of the companies that we sold on our Black Friday special were actually BNI members. So um, our focus, it proved like what we'd already decided to do for our focus for this next year is true. It's a fraction the cost. Even having 3 memberships, Isaiah's in a BNI chapter, Austin's in a BNI chapter, and Jason's in a BNI chapter. And for those of you that don't know, Isaiah is our youngest child. Um, and so our budgeting for marketing is a little bit different than what we did for our service company. So
And that's exactly why you're on here today, because Jason's at a BNI meeting, right?
he is. Yep. So with this, like everything that we have been doing is very intentional. Jason, Austin, and Isaiah are all in BNI. I have not been in BNI since I was in it for our service detectives, our electrical company. And they decided to bend the rules and allow me to be a director. So now Jason and I are becoming directors, and Jason and Austin are going to become ambassadors. So not only if we go visit a chapter are we just visiting for just because, now we are visiting because we actually have more pull and more leverage because of the leadership roles that we're in. So it's pretty cool. We're really excited about this coming year and what we're looking at doing as far as changing up things.
Yeah, that's great, because a lot of people think that marketing is, when they mention a marketing budget, they think it's just online.
Yeah.
But it could be, I mean, it's all of marketing, like
Yeah.
everything that you do for
Yeah.
marketing. Saturday I
We
just did a webinar, and we went over all this stuff and how much
Yep.
you should allocate to online marketing versus, offline, or and even repeat business. Your existing customers, you need to actually spend marketing for your repeat customers,
Yeah.
to stay in front of their face.
Yep. Well, we also did a lot of in your face activities. So we did a lot of parades, which means that we would spend $200 to $300 in candy, or $100 if you go to the wholesaler and got the really all those amazing flavors of Tootsie Rolls. You could spend $100 and get 3 times the candy. It's amazing. But anyways, so trade shows, we used to have one home show every year in our area, and we did do that one. But there's a lot of volunteer things around here that we've even started doing with my office help now that we're branching out into other services. But like everything that you do is a marketing thing. Trail of treats at Halloween, like anything that you can do to get your name out in the community is marketing. It really truly is.
Yeah, it truly is, and so many people forget that. um so for our next point is forecasting labor before it's urgent. You are a you have a fairly big team.
Yes.
um so I think you are perfect to talk about this. How do you plan ahead and forecast when you're going to need to hire different positions, or just, you're the type of person that needs bodies to physically answer the phones, right?
Yep.
So a lot of people say, oh, I need to add more trucks, that's going to make me more money. But how do you forecast how much that's going to cost, how much that person, the benefits, like
Yeah.
the equipment that they're going to need? In your case,
Yeah.
they're going to need a computer, they're going to need a headset, they're going to need all this stuff. You're going to have to deal with, phone lines, and
Yeah.
and maybe some additional infrastructure. So how are you handling forecasting that in your business?
Well, everybody's is really truly is the same. It's really truly about really diving into your profit and loss. Because when you say I pay someone, let's just say $25 an hour, it does not cost you $25 an hour.
Mm-mm.
It costs you upwards of 50, 75, depends on what kind of expenses you have. Things like overhead also needs to be counted in. Thankfully, as you build your team, the overhead sort of goes down per person if you're keeping the same kind of overhead. You're talking about like rent on a building or mortgage on a building, the electricity, you're going to use the same amount of electricity, right? With us, we can train a little bit faster than we could with technicians. So right now, I'm not hiring. We're going into winter. The only ones that are busy right now are heating and cooling. That's it. But I do know by April, I've got to have more team members by April. And so we will plan on beginning end of February, beginning of March, hiring for that. But I have to prepare and make sure that I'm ready to be able to hire those people by that time. I also have to be prepared because not everybody works out. And the same goes for technicians. What is your turnover rate on hiring technicians? One man
So
shops
you're
can be,
telling me that you're not waiting until you actually need somebody and scramble to figure it out? You're planning
no,
ahead?
no. And I will need to hire 3 in order to know by the end of that 30 days, one of them is still here.
There you go.
So technicians are the same exact way. And it's harder for one man shops because you're going to rely on this one person, right? And I've seen tons of one man shops. They hire someone and that person ends up not working out and costing the owner more, which is time and money, right? Um, at, at least here, we've learned really early on as soon as we see a red flag, like we're gone. We've learned the red flags, and we've learned that we can't just be like, okay, it's only one red flag, it's only two red flags. We're gonna give them one more chance. No, like the last guy, the moment he threw, we were teetering. He's maybe a B player. I don't know if he'll ever be an A player, but as soon as that red flag came out, we're like, you can go now. Like
Yeah.
we don't need you here. Um,
Slow to hire, fast to fire.
Yeah. Yep,
That's a
and that
principle I had to learn a long time
yep.
ago.
But, so there's a lot that goes into your forecasting of your labor. Like right now, you may need to hire now in order to get them ready for the summer season. Um, and that is going to come out of your pocket because you may not have the call volume right now to support another income. And so you've really got to think about those things, the training during the slow time in order to get them ready for the busy time. And then, like last year, at least for most of our companies, usually around the beginning of April, the phones start blowing up, they start getting higher. And most of our companies didn't see that until mid May, later in May. And so there's all those things that you've really got to really truly look at, where you've been in the past. I used to with service detectives. I made a spreadsheet of our revenue by month, and I tracked it for years because I mean we've been in business for years, right? So I tracked it for years, and I was able to pinpoint where 17% of our revenue for the year came from this month, but only 2% of our revenue came from this month, and it was almost consistent across the board. So even knowing down to the penny of those types of things will help when you're trying to forecast when you're going to need labor and how you're going to pay for that labor.
Exactly. I mean, it all works out over the averages for your yearly budget, but without knowing those peaks and valleys throughout the year,
Yeah,
you won't know whether to adjust. When you're busy and that money's raking in, that doesn't mean you need to spend it and that it's extra. You need to
yeah,
keep it there for when you have those valleys as
yeah.
well. So that's your rainy day fund, is
Uh,
when you've got those valleys in the year.
and not every valley is just, I'm going to go in the valley and come back up. Like there are things like last year for us, it was hit after hit after hit after hit. Like it was just a year. And it's
Mhm.
taken most of this year for us to truly start catching back up. So you just gotta there's all these things you have to prepare for. You've got to be ready for, and still, no matter what, give God thanks in all things.
Right. One of my slides in this weekend, or last weekend in my webinar was, I forgot who it was, maybe Jimmy Dean, um, said, I can't, I have no control over the direction of the wind, but I can always adjust my sails to reach my destination. If you know where you're headed and what your goals are, you can, it doesn't matter if the wind changes, you can always adjust your sails. But you need to know how to adjust your sails, and you need to be
Yep.
prepared to adjust your sails, right?
Yeah,
So I thought that was a wonderful quote.
I agree.
So
That's a good one.
separating taxes, profit, and reserves. Going back to profit first, that's a huge thing. Um, Making sure that you have different buckets to where you separate your taxes. You're setting that aside, you're setting your
Yeah.
profit aside, and you're setting reserves aside. And those reserves are what we're actually talking about now. So the way you can segregate and put 10% into reserves and 20% into profit or taxes and whatever into profit, um if you're paying yourself a consistent salary, you can still put 1% into profit, and then you get paid 1% of all the money that comes in as your profit, bonus over and above. So you can work it out that way. And if you're not making enough money, this is using profit first is a good way to truly show you where you're lacking in your business
Hmm.
financially. And it forces you to figure it out, right? That's how it worked for me. It forced me to say, you know what, I am not going to have enough money left over for profit. I am not going to have enough money left over to give away, and have some charitable causes that I can support. And it really helped me align my business into shifting and adjusting my sales, basically, um, to be able to do that. So I highly, highly suggest you get into those types of habits. And a lot of what we're talking about today is all habits. So the cash flow habits and cash flow killers. You just talked about KPIs. Jason and I have been talking about KPIs forever, it seems, because it's so foundational. What are certain KPIs that you guys might use in yours, or that you see you're doing accounting for other home service businesses? What KPIs are people tracking in, are you seeing being tracked
Hmm.
on the financial end?
So one huge one is the labor, which we've hit on. Um, and I'm talking about direct labor, not owner's labor, but the direct labor. Now, if you're out in the field, is a different story. So, like Jason was I don't remember the exact what I did, but let's say he was 60% in the field and 40% in the office. I accounted 60% of his labor to direct labor. The same goes for here. My team out there are direct labor. I'm not direct labor. So knowing what your direct labor is, and for service companies, what's your material um, KPI? Like where are you sitting at with that? Because there are actual percentages that you should stay within, for certain boundaries that you should stay within. And if you're over that, then you need to think about that. For the longest time, our direct labor here, after what happened last year, was way too high. And so we had to come up with ways to try to bring that down for sure. Um, I mean, your profit at the bottom is another percentage to track as far as other KPIs for us, and you can use this for any of your CSRs. What is their booking percentage? And that's any bookable call. How many of the bookable calls did they actually book? We also track average time on the phone because a team member, I have one right now that was almost 6 minutes per call last week, when the average time for us should be around 2.5 to 3 minutes. And so that actually shows us training aspects. Same goes for technicians. How long are they in the home? That's a good KPI to track. What is their conversion rate? What is their return rate versus on spot repairs? What is their failure rate? So, some good KPIs to actually look at to know whether, because every single one of those things can affect your cash flow.
Absolutely. I especially the return rate and the callback rate, those kill your business. A home
Yeah.
service company just it crushes you. And I even met with a business owner and he says, you know, I was like, "What's your first time complete rate?" And he says, "Oh, I'd say it's about 20%." And I'm like, "What?" Like, you are hurting, man. Like, you got to figure that out. So, I'm like, that's going to crush you. And once you understand those numbers and the reality of that affects your business, then you can start adjusting your
Mhm.
sales and get headed in the right direction. So
Yep.
we're gonna wrap up here real quick with a simple 12-month cash flow blueprint. Number one, set your annual revenue target. Number two, break it into monthly goals based on seasonality, your ups and downs. Number three, assign labor budget by projected workload. Just like you talked about, you're going to need someone in April. Number four, set a fixed monthly marketing investment. Number five, establish consistent owner salary. Number six, allocate percentages for taxes, reserves, and profits. That aligns with profit first. And then number seven, review weekly and adjust everything monthly. Um,
Mhm.
if you start watching everything weekly, it gets you into the habit of knowing what you need to adjust on a monthly basis. And it seems like, yeah, you're going to be watching your numbers all the time. You should be watching your numbers all the time, but it's the only way that you can learn how to manage it. And if you can manage your business at that financial level from the top, everything else under that just gets easier. Um, it doesn't get easy, it just gets easier. And you'll have a lot less stress. So,
Yep.
having these cash flow habits are going to give you business owners, the clarity, confidence to lead your company well. Um, when you have your financial system stable and predictable, everything else in the business becomes easier to manage. And strong cash flow habits help the team support long term goals and give owners peace of mind they need to make thoughtful decision. Do you have anything to add before we wrap it
No,
up?
I don't think so. I think is a good lesson to go over.
It really is. I mean, finances is like the Bible talked more about finances than anything else, than money, than anything else. And it's because it's such a key thing and that affects our stress levels and
Mhm.
our personal lives and people around us. So it wasn't about, the evil of money as much as it was this is the reality of the world that we live in with worldly things, and it's something that Jesus couldn't ignore, so he had to talk about it and he had to
Yep.
give those lessons.
Yep.
So all right, well, we'll wrap up. I really enjoyed having you on. We got to do
Thank
this more
you.
often.
Well,
Mhm.
it's up to Jason, I guess.
Yeah.
I know with him becoming a director, this does help me, get to come on more often because
Well, there you go.
see,
I just may have to have you on once a month.
once a month, it'll
We'll
be
boot him
Shayna
off.
time. Shh.
All right. Well, everybody, you have a wonderful week. And Shayna, if I don't talk to you, have a Merry Christmas.
Thanks for tuning in to the Morning Grind podcast by Service Alliance Group. Subscribe to our channel and make sure you visit our website at servicealliancegroup.com for appliance repair business resources.